and welcome to Pulp Mythos. My name is Brian. I'm here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be discussing Dexter New Blood, episode number 4, H is for Hero. Um, this full spoilers. I mean, I say that because we always do full spoilers on here, but I'm jumping to the last lines of the episode. Man, that was some chilling shit. When you had Deb over Dexter's shoulder, he's holding the straight razor and in tears, in horror, she's like, well, I wrote it down. He was born in blood like you. And then Dexter thinks he has my dark passenger as he embraces the blade and kisses it. I mean, I was like, when it cut to credits, I'm like, this one scene was the reason this show came back. Like, this is worth it. The story they're telling, I'm 100% in now. Harrison is proving to be one hell of a character. Yeah, going into that final scene and anywhere else you want to go from there, but I had to bring it up because it was just that amazing.
Well, the fact that he knows what happened to his mom, just like Dexter, later in the seasons, you begin to realize that he didn't just remember pieces of it, even though he was very young. It was very traumatic and helped shape who he was. So it's not just that he has a personality disorder and he's a sociopath. Rita dying is what helped create Harrison to be what he is. So, genetically, he's got a little bit of Dexter in him, but he also had a similar situation happen to him right in front of him. So their characters to kind of be on a similar path is very interesting. I also, when you look at Harrison too, it's different because Dexter was good at playing, bringing everybody donuts and being that guy. But Harrison's feels more genuine, like he enjoys being a kid in the center of attention. But I also think that, in the later seasons with Dexter, like I mentioned in one of the previous reviews, when he was with Brother Sam and stuff, he felt like he could do right by basically being the judge and jury. And I think that Harrison's already made peace with that.
Yeah, and Harrison has a lot of similarities to him, and there's a lot of differences though too. So Harrison might be kind of a challenge for him to deal with and just kind of decide what they are in the first place, because he is a lot like Dexter, but he's a lot better at seemingly blending in and being a person, because he like Dexter mentions, he's popular and charismatic and just very much seems like a real person. And while Dexter wasn't too bad at fitting in, and he could be a little personal, he always seemed like an awkward introvert that was trying to fit in. Even like if you take away the parts that we as the audience know about him, just what people at work and home know about him, he seemed a little awkward or shy. But yeah, we're at that point where we now know that Harrison is absolutely like Dexter. And like you said, Spencer, it's not like it's something he forgot. In fact, he probably remembers it far more vividly than Dexter, because of the scene we saw earlier with the podcaster. He lives in a time where when things like this happen, that media is there forever. So not only can he not forget it, he can unfortunately relive it again and again.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point too with Dexter being awkward, because I just rewatched most of it prior to this happening. People would make a reference and he would have like the most awkward response because he just didn't get it. Like he wasn't trying.
Dexter like any emotion he shows, it's like manufactured. It's not real with Dexter for the most part. There are exceptions. Where Harrison, like you said, Larry, he feels genuine. He feels he doesn't feel as he's different.
Robotic.
There is a difference to him, and it's gonna be interesting seeing what that difference is, because this was the big question I wanted to ask you guys. We know he slashes Ethan's leg. He hits an artery. He's taken him out of the equation. Was he trying to kill him? Because he says when they come to see him, he's like, "Oh, is he gonna die? I'm sorry. I hope he's okay." Then he goes to visit him in the hospital. I wasn't sure if that was a genuine he felt bad or if he was just checking on him. Not sure. Did he want him to die or did he not? Because that scene in the when he speaks to the class, that was a great scene. He's basically saying, "Look, guys, yes, Ethan was effed up and all this, but you guys were also pieces of shit, and we all need to learn from this." And that was that sort of moment, where every so often Dexter would do that one heroic thing, and everybody would be like, "Dexter's the guy," and that reminded me of that. But going back to my initial question, do you think he was trying to kill Ethan?
See, that's it. To me, it could go either direction because he seemed to almost be vetting Ethan because he knew that he was being fucked with. He could see his face, but it was also something that Harrison seemed to empathize with, which Dexter has zero empathy. It was more of a sense of, I don't know, purpose, justice. Like it, the reason he killed was because he had to kill essentially to not go crazy, and he just picked people that fit the profile. Whereas Harrison seemed to want to genuinely protect Ethan, and then once he realized that Ethan was going to shoot up the school, he and that's the question mark, like you said. It's because if he just hurt him, he basically takes the school shooting and saves everybody. But if he was trying to kill him because, like Dexter, he was like, this motherfucker's crazy, he's going to kill people, he's bad, he needs to be taken off the, he needs to be taken out. So I'm not sure which way yet. Uh, but the sheriff detective, it's not a detective in a small town of like 300 people, but the sheriff, when she was talking to Dexter, basically saying, "Hey, we're dropping the case against him. We don't believe anything Ethan said. We have all this stuff," is basically saying that Ethan do didn't stab him first.
Oh yeah,
So,
I don't believe Ethan was plot. I mean, I think he was plotting, but um I don't think he told Harrison, "Hey man, let's shoot up the school." I think that was made up.
oh no, not at all. I
What,
think
what,
Harrison felt like he was going to.
Yes. Yes. I think he saw it coming, but no, I think he preemptively made this decision. That's my assumption.
yeah, and I agree. That's what it seems like to me. I think that, it was a preemptive decision, which shows that Harrison may be a little more dangerous than Dexter because, he's like Ethan hadn't done anything yet, but Harrison, decided to take matters into his own hand, which he may have saved this school, but has he done this kind of thing in the past is the question. You
Yeah.
know, it, it
Yes. I don't know. That's my assumption. Yes.
yeah, and that's a big possibility that, he's maybe even sees Dexter as not extreme enough that maybe he should be preempting some of this stuff, that there's events he could have stopped if he just acted on his intuition. So, Harrison could actually be in a way a little worse.
I think too, when you look at, because he kind of knows what Dexter is, he doesn't have any like questions, and he's learning a lot about his mom's case. Uh, Season 4 is still one of the best seasons ever, but rewatching that season, Dexter has so much guilt, and not because it was all because he could have saved Rita had he not tried to learn from the Trinity Killer and just taken him out from the get go.
Yeah, if
Because
he
he
had
had
stuck
multiple
to his
opportunities.
code. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's a couple other times where he tries to talk to Deb when Deb finds out and she's like, "Don't do it, don't do it." And he's like, "Look, if I don't do it, they're gonna they're gonna get free and do it again." So then like he tries to let it go, tries to basically get them arrested, and then they end up committing a crime again. And he's like, "I should have just fucking done this from the get go." So uh Harrison, knowing Dexter's past and knowing what happened with his mom, like you said, Larry, it may be that assumption like, hey, if I get this feeling and if I can find out that they're gonna do something bad, I might as well take them out before it happens. It saves people.
But like Larry, that could be, you're right. And that one of the things about Dexter was he was very, like, he would even be frustrated trying to prove that they're a killer because he wants to kill them, but he has to make sure. And if Harrison is just sort of being like, well, I'm thinking they're going to do something, and he starts making moves, it's going to be interesting to see their styles on how they approach things and if that is a conflict in itself.
Right, because like you're saying, that definitely conflicts with Dexter's code, and I'm just curious if they're going to butt heads because of that.
Because I think Harrison at this point, it's too late because Dexter's probably thinking, well, I'll instill in him my code. We'll do this together. But Harrison at this point has his own. I think
Oh
he's
yeah.
been doing shit for a minute.
Right.
Well, and they said Dexter. He mentioned it this season. He didn't kill until he was 19. Like that was the first time he actually killed somebody was when he was 19. Like he had killed animals and done other stuff and done reconnaissance and all that stuff, but he didn't kill his first person until 19. And I'm trying to figure out how old Harrison supposedly is because it was 2008 when he was born season wise, but I don't think he's 13. So so I don't know how maybe they're trying to say it's 2000. Like, I don't know.
I don't
Saying
know if it's tough. Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to say he's 15 or 18.
yeah,
They
either way.
haven't talked. Yeah, they haven't talked about
Well,
college or
no,
senior year or anything.
but they also looked at a calendar and it said December 2021. So that's
Yeah.
why I was like, this motherfucker ain't 13. But anyway, but to me, that's a huge deal that he's still very young. And this doesn't feel like the first time he's done something like this. So for him to not be a novice at trying to plan something like this, and Dexter, living by his code basically from when he was very young and Harry realized something was wrong to where he killed, Harrison didn't have that guidance.
We have Molly Park, which I wasn't sure about last week in terms of how I was going to feel about the character. She's a podcaster, but after this week, I'm very intrigued because she's, at the moment at least, she's shifting her focus over to the kidnappings. And that's interesting because we know that's a big, big deal, and that's going to be a big plot, element going forward. And the fact that she's going to start digging into that's going to put her at risk. That's going to open up a whole bunch of stuff and potentially provide lots and lots of work for Dexter. And so yeah, Molly Park, she came in, and I'm like, okay, cool. And like you said, Larry, we had that amazing scene where we have Harrison sitting alone on the bleachers, listening and essentially reliving, that horrible tragedy that he experienced. And now knowing that he actually uses a straight razor as his primary weapon, that's some dark shit, man. But yeah, what are y'all thoughts on Molly Park?
Yeah, like you said, I wasn't sure about the character either, but uh, given what she does, the fact that she's a podcaster and she has like seemingly like in universe one of the most popular true crimes podcasts, she could be like the biggest. Like obviously, she's going to be a huge help in the investigation with the missing women potentially, but she's also potentially one of the biggest obstacles for Dexter and Harrison because, well, Dexter's a serial killer. Harrison likely is as well. And if there's this missing rich kid, and then there's these missing girls, and then there's the murders that Harrison and Dexter will likely commit, she's not going to leave. And and if either of them decides to get rid of her, that's a very high profile person, to go missing, and that would bring a hell of a lot more attention their way.
Well, most popular murder podcast to Only Murders in the Building and
Exactly.
name. But they yeah, I think that she could either be an asset. Should she be should they be able to sway her to kind of throw her off the scent and kind of lead her in the wrong direction? And although she is a podcaster, she does still seem very smart. She doesn't seem to be easily manipulated. She seems to be very observant. When she walked into the room the first time and was like taking pictures of lists and like everything, she is very attuned to what is going on. So for her to just kind of be swayed, because I thought maybe they would use her and just be like, well, and kind of use her influence to lead people in the wrong direction. But I think that she's not going to be an asset. She's going to be similar to Lundy, how Lundy was always on the scent, but not quite there. And he was always around and being a thorn in Dexter's side. That's what she feels like. Obviously, it's a little bit different. She's not an FBI profiler, but she has a lot more tools at her, you know, in her utility belt, because she has the entirety of the internet to help her. So she has a lot more resources than even Lundy had.
Yeah, and look at the subtle ways in the past two episodes that she worked her way into this community and got the info she needed. She's dating one of the police officers. She volunteered to be part of the search party, and she's questioning people without them knowing who she is. And she's the person that kind of stands out, but she's managed to be that person and yet blend in a way and integrate herself into this town in very surprising ways.
And she was able. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know what that reminds me of, though? When you first said that, it was the reporter. I think it was in season. Yeah, it was John Lithgow, Trinity Killer's daughter, was the reporter. So I don't think that she's connected, but to me, her dating the officer is very much her using the officer. And it was just funny. Like, as soon as that happened, I was like, man, a lot of parallels between previous seasons.
Yeah, and the fact that she noticed on Bishop's wall all those girls and was able to use that to get closer to the department. She said she's abandoning the Kurt case sort of for the moment, but she probably isn't. She saw that that was something that was very important, so she was going to help her get involved in it and then go from there. So she's, like you said, she's very observant to what people need. When she made that drink, that was a very interesting scene, because at first you're like, why is she making this drink? Because she knows the words she's about to say are going to allow her to sit down for hours and have a conversation. She want to have a little drink before, but she starts making the drink before she lays out what she's going to do. So she's like several steps ahead. She's thinking in terms of what her next move is.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly smart character, and yeah, I am definitely curious where they go next with this podcaster.
So Kurt, here we go. I still am not 100% sure on a lot of things with this character. So he says that he FaceTimed with Matt. Now we know that's not possible. Matt is dead. We go through the episode. He's being friendly with Dexter. Dexter senses that Kurt's digging still. There's that line where he's like, "Oh, he was, fishing, and I gave him something." He gives Harrison a drone as a thank you, for saving the school. And then we have the moment at the end in which a young woman, she's asking for money. Apparently, he gives money or helps young girls. Apparently, he's helped her before, giving her money for her to leave. She never did. She comes back. And then he drives off in his truck and he takes her to this place. Now, the assumption, or what it looks like it's leading to us to believe, is that he either is that killer or is clearly working with the killer, one or the other. That's what it is. That was what it set up. Now, if you watch the preview, clearly that is the case because she's locked up in a room. So spoilers if you watch the preview. So the question is it just him, or is this part of a thing? Why is he lying about Matt? What if, we had a good theory. One of you had a great theory last week about it's bringing too much attention to their hunting grounds, which I think is a great theory. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Kurt revelations?
Like, at the very least, he's working with he may well be the killer, and I'm starting to think that's the case, because there was sort of a hint that this may be like part of his cycle, because he tried to give her an opportunity after giving her money, and she just kept trying to, like, sort of weasel money out of him, and and then his look kind of changed, and that's when he took her to the cabin. So, like, I'm thinking that's potentially part of his pattern. Either that, or he's working with the other guy, and they're both killers. The other rich guy in town, what's his name? I can't.
I
He
don't
wasn't
know.
even
Oil guy.
Mr. Billionaire.
yeah,
Oil
yeah,
man.
wasn't even in this episode if I
No,
recall.
he
Like,
wasn't.
but yeah,
He was
they
in.
maybe
You just didn't see him.
he was they may be working together is the thing, but Kurt is definitely involved, and at the very least I think he's the person who's taking these girls to the cabin.
Do you think he we saw whoever it is embalms these girls. Do you think he embalms them and has them all displayed somewhere?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Well,
gonna
it's
be
going to be messed up later.
Ooh.
Oof.
Like hunting trophies. Like when you look at taxidermy and those
Yes.
kind of things, it's very much feels like that's.
And you saw how many are on that wall.
Oh yeah.
Mm. Yeah, this is going to be like Hannibal level rough, like on the level of that show. when
Well,
we when they find this cabin.
one I think too, when you look at who he's going after, it seems to be the dredges of society. All these females, even the ones that were with the tribe that went missing or whatever, they weren't, these top echelon of people. They were all, loners, or, they were into some sketchy situations, or even one of them was on and off the streets, and one was if I remember correctly, they said one was a prostitute, one was a drug addict. So like these people that they are going after are people they feel won't be missed. And
So he's Rick Legarsky.
yes, but when they but
Don't you
when they
bring that
ended up
show into this?
but when they ended up getting the
They're
sheriff,
ripping off Big Sky, dude. No.
but when they got the sheriff's friend, whose daughter she ended up adopting or whatever. I'm not really quite sure where that story is yet, but when that ended up happening, she took a special interest in this case, which is what they weren't hoping for.
Yeah, because that's another thing. Because she said that was the only thing that was, and not really confusing, but so she talked about her best friend growing up was this girl named Iris, and then she also went missing, and that's what brought her in. But I'm trying to gauge how old she is, and I'm like, well, how long has Kurt been doing this shit? If it is him, well, he's clearly involved, and I'm like, maybe it is that rich guy. Maybe it's a group of people, sort of or like a club or something, and it's been going on for a long time.
It could
Because
be
I'm trying to figure out how old a bishop is. Because
well,
yeah, I don't know.
well, yeah, because the older guy, the oil guy, seems a little older than Kurt even,
Yeah,
but Kurt is pretty old, so but he'd have to do this at a young age, and maybe like they were doing this while Kurt was younger, and he was you know still, of course, a little older. And I'm starting to think that even like we're gonna find out that Kurt's son Matt was either A, involved, or B, knew about it, and that's why he's able to get money out of him so easy. Is because he knows about these things, and maybe that's even what the issue with the boat was. He wanted to kill those people because it's
yeah.
a thing he's done before.
So did I make you proud, Dad? I killed all the people in the boat.
Yeah, because they clearly, it's my guess is like Kurt hasn't outright shown this, but I think he sees a lot of these people as parasites, like Spencer was saying.
That would be my assumption. Yeah, I think it fit. Like, I brought up a certain character from a certain show, but that was exactly why they did what they did. But yeah, I agree. Um, let's see here. I don't have much else. I did. It was chilling yet again seeing when Harrison was listening to the podcast and seeing the Trinity Killer. Him scrolling through, and it's like, ooh. And I'm just wondering at what point is him and Dexter going to have that conversation? Maybe next week. I don't know. Um, but yeah, loving it. Is there anything else?
Well, I'm just curious if if perhaps because you saw the look on his face while he was listening to that, and he certainly didn't seem pleased with it. So I'm curious if Harrison's going to go after the podcaster at some point, and if he does, that's going to draw a lot of attention to this town.
Yeah. I too am curious to what his thoughts are on what she does. Does he feel is it exploitative, or you know what I mean? Is there some element there to it? Is it something where he just likes to listen to that gets him all hyped up before he does a thing? Um, helps him get in that mindset. I don't know.
Well, and I'm thinking even like well, we're wondering about Kurt. Dexter still also has the feeling that Kurt knows a little more than he's saying too. So like, and he feels like Kurt's filling him out, and he bought that, he bought the drone for Harrison and everything. And if this is Kurt's habit, maybe Kurt also noticed that stab wound seemed a little self-inflicted, and that thinks it, and the sort of speech about Dexter having a better boy, and having the better son and everything, was sort of a double entendre that Harrison literally is the son that he wish he had. And maybe that's why Matt drinks and parties all the time, because he doesn't have that same messed up killer mentality that his father has.
Yeah, I could see that. I think Kurt knows that whatever happened to Matt happened in Dexter's backyard, basically, and I think that's a big piece of it too. And whether or not he suspects Dexter knows more than I don't know. Kurt isn't completely dumb to the situation. He is suspicious, definitely. How much he's assuming, I don't know, but yeah, even like you said, Dexter can sense it. Like, oh, he's
He's
digging.
up to something.
He's up to something. Yeah. Um, because if you spend that much time killing people and making them disappear, he knows how that works. And so, yeah, I could see him thinking, yeah, something's up.
It's just a case of two serial killers just kind of stalking each other and and filling each other out. Which is the only other thing that made me suspect that maybe he even knows about Harrison's situation, or suspects, because he's murdered so much that he's like, well, this doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many question marks because we don't necessarily know how they're going to prolong this, or if this is just supposed to be kind of a one and done, right the wrongs that they felt that they made in the season finale from the first ones. And to me, I didn't hate the season finale the last time. It's hard to justify when he basically did everything to be with his son and everything, and then just to like abandon him. But on the same note, Deborah's thing is everybody who gets close to you dies. Everybody who gets close to you is worse off because of it. And that was, kind of her parting words to Dexter. So when, when she died, that's what he did. He felt like he was protecting them, but I'm not sure that this, it really is dependent upon what they do. I feel like this is a great beginning to a great new chapter, but I'm not sure if that's what they want to do or if they're just trying to wrap it up and make it a miniseries. I don't know.
It's new blood, dude.
Yeah, and
Well,
you're
that's
right.
what I'm saying. The title
Yeah.
feels like
I don't know. I don't know if we said it a couple weeks ago. Harrison at this point has proven himself as a character to me. Where if you wanted to keep going with just him, let's say you kill off Dexter, I think it could work potentially. I think he's good enough, and you could always have Dexter be his, consciousness or whatever,
Right.
subconscious. But I have no idea. I don't know what they went into this, what their goal was.
Well, yeah, but like you said, the premise is solid enough that you could do that if you wanted. That said, I'd want it to be like, just at least 2 seasons of him and Dexter, and if you killed off Dexter sometime in season 2, and then Dexter is his Harry, and then maybe even we get a little bit of you know, because he remembers some stuff about Deb himself, and he remembers some stuff about his mom. So you know, we also like we have Dexter, and we have his mom, who was also messed up because, you know, if I recall, she used to poison people. So
Yeah, his
well,
adoptive mother.
adoptive mother, yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, this show is firing on all cylinders at this moment. I think I don't think I have a single complaint really in terms of the story being told. Um, anything else regarding episode number 4?
I think I text you, Brian, or maybe Larry, or both. The only thing I had when I was looking at the difference between uh, Harry and the difference between Deb, as far as the main ghost talking to them kind of thing. Throughout the beginning of Dexter, Harry was trying to guide him and try to talk to him and lead him in the right direction. Whereas this, uh, in the original series, you had Masuka, Batista, like all these people he basically throws ideas off of, even though they don't know he's throwing ideas off of them. He's kind of, using them. But now it's just him by himself. He can't use his wife. He can't, or not wife, girlfriend, and he can't use these people. So it's almost like Deb is that secondary detective to help him deal with it and kind of go through it in his head. So yes, she was, the big catalyst at the end of the series and stuff like that. And like you guys both said, it wouldn't feel the same without her being there. But I think the role she's taken in this is the same thing she had in the previous seasons. It's not just his moral compass, so to say, because that's what Harry was, but it also feels like she's still being a detective and still helping him solve shit.
I'm so happy they included her this way
Absolutely.
because she's definitely um, a major part of the series, and she's doing great. Absolutely.
But that was it.
But yeah, looking forward to next week. I don't think there's any breaks, so this thing's going to run straight through, and we will have a review for you for episode number 5 next week. Appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.